Hey guys, welcome back to Entrepreneurship. Today I want to start with a pretty simple question. Are people just following you and lurking around, or do they actually feel like they belong to something? And I know when we talk about following, lurking, community, belonging, all of that stuff, it's easy to just think about social media, but this applies to literally anywhere where you interact with your current and potential clients. But back to the matter at hand. The reason I ask is because they are two very different things, and they lead to two very different businesses. One of them compounds while the other plateaus. And now the difference doesn't just come down to how much content you create, how big your following is, what your email open and click through rates are, or anything like that. It's really just whether you've intentionally built something that people want to be a part of or not. And so that's exactly what we're talking about today. And now, again, because there can be so much confusion about terminology and people will use all of these words interchangeably, I think it's important to start by defining some of these terms for this episode. So, in simple marketing terms, your following is the people who've opted in to hear from you. They're your following on your social channels, they've subscribed to your email list or podcast, they like your content, they hopefully find it interesting and helpful, and they've possibly even saved something to come back to and do it later. They're your audience who's getting to know you and are tangentially aware of what you're up to. Now, a community, on the other hand, is something deeper. They're people who feel a part of something. They show up for each other, they buy into what you're selling, and they refer friends because they've seen how impactful what you have to offer is. They love you and how you show up, and they would 1,000,000% notice if you were gone. So, what I've seen time and time again is you could have 100,000 social followers or tens of thousands on your email list, but still not have a community. And then on the flip side, you can have 50 people deeply connected to you on your email list, on your social channels. And despite the difference in numbers, they've cultivated a community that's so strong that it will fill businesses' calendars and books by word of mouth alone. The number isn't the point. It's the belonging and value that creates that community. But in marketing, it's really easy to chase after those vanity metrics. So a lot of marketing advice completely misses that community part. But here's the thing. Communities don't happen by accident. They don't come from posting consistently or having beautiful branding or finally nailing that ad strategy, though they help, obviously. Instead, they're built intentionally and they require getting two specific things right at the same time. So when I look at how people responded to my Creek Rat and Giggly Squad work examples, or think about my clients who are actively building communities, I realize that there's a decently simple framework that translates a following or an audience into an actual community. And I always like to say that just because it's simple doesn't mean it's easy, but it is simple. The first is aspiration, because people need to be able to clearly see where you're taking them. And obviously, they need to want to go there as well, but they need to really understand your vision and buy into what you're building. So it can't just be vague promises. It has to be a real, specific, compelling picture of the transformation in their lives, their businesses, or the version of themselves that exists on the other side of what you have to offer. And without aspiration, your marketing is just informational. So people might find it useful, but they don't have a long-term reason to stay. No real reason to invest emotionally or financially, and no reason to tell their friends. The second is accessibility. And this one is equally important and also oftentimes missed. Because not only does your audience need to see that next version of where they're going from the aspirational side, but they need to be able to see themselves in the starting point. And that is actually critical because they need to feel like this was made for them right now, that they're welcome right now, exactly as they are. Not when they hit a certain revenue number, not when they have a bigger team, not when they figured out the thing that they're currently struggling with. Now, and I do want to pause here for a second because I do think that this can be a little confusing because specifically in the service world, we will oftentimes qualify of like, this is for you if you are here, this is for you if you're not. But the key is whatever that specific offer, service, product is, even if there are qualifiers, it needs to be really clear that wherever you want them to go or wherever they should be going, it's a very simple way to opt in of, oh yeah, that's me. So as always, coming back from my tangent, when you have aspiration without accessibility, people feel inspired, but not included. They look at what you built and they think, wow, that's incredible, but it's not for someone like me. And they kind of just admire it from a distance without ever stepping in. And on the flip side, when you have accessibility without aspiration, People can feel included but not compelled. They like you, they relate to you, but there's no reason to stay again because there's nowhere that you're taking them, or at least nowhere they want to go. But when you have both, something shifts. People stop being observers and they start feeling like real participants. And that's when the following shifts into a community. So let's walk through this with a real example because I think it makes a framework land in a way that the theory alone doesn't. I work with this incredible company called Good Brewed. And if you listen to last week's episode with the voice note from my client Emma, this is her company. So technically speaking, it's a soap brand. Taking it a step deeper, it's non-toxic, age-appropriate personal care products for boys ages 6 through 12. So many marketers would stop there, even though it's still pretty surface level, because you're kind of like, cool, this is what it is, this is who it's for, done deal, easy to talk about. But what Emma's building isn't just a product. She's building a community around a much bigger idea and mission. The initial entry point is accessible and specific. So this is for parents of boys who want clean, safe, age-appropriate products. Accessible. Easy. You know immediately if this is for you or not. And there's no ambiguity, no gatekeeping, no feeling like you have to earn your place here. But the aspirational piece of it is where this gets really powerful because what Good Brood is actually selling and what keeps parents engaging with her and weighing in and leaving the sweetest comments and sending the most heartfelt, open, honest DMs is that it goes beyond soap. What we're actually building through soap is a much more beautiful, richer vision for their sons. Because going deeper, it's personal care routines that cultivate confidence. It's the daily ritual that teaches young boys how to take care of themselves. And more importantly, it's a brand that sees this parent, the caretaker, the person buying their son as a soft, kind, curious, capable person he is in a world where boys and men are navigating these wildly complicated questions about who they're supposed to be, what it is to be a man, what masculinity is and isn't, and how it operates. So parents aren't just buying products. They're buying into the larger mission, like I mentioned, and ethos for the world that they want to help create for their son. And that mission is specific and aspirational enough to create real loyalty. So now the people who are finding Good Brood aren't necessarily just making purchases. They feel like they actually found their people. So the people who are finding the Instagram account, the landing page, joining the email list, it's not people who just want soap, although that is helpful. There's a clear gap in the market. But more so, these are parents who feel like they found their people because it's a brand speaking to something that they already know and believe in. And so therefore, Good Brood gave them a place to belong around it. And at the end of the day, we're bringing people along to help us build the world that we believe is worth building. And you might agree with that, you might not. And depending on where you land on that, that's totally fine. Either you join that world or you don't. But that's why it's so important to balance the two and make sure it's really clear so that for as much as the right people need to come in and be bought in and be a part of it, the wrong people can very easily say, no, thank you, on to the next. And so this formula works for more than just mission-based companies like Good Brood. It works for products like the soap piece, service businesses, personal brands, brick and mortar operations, whatever. The format doesn't matter. The principle stays the same. And so you might actually be sitting here thinking okay, well, that's a beautiful example, but I do this. And so let's talk about service businesses because obviously I have a service business. It's something that can feel murky sometimes, but also something I can speak to. So let's talk about how this translates. Now, I want you to think about the service businesses that have built real communities around what they do. So the fitness studios where members don't just come for the workout, they come because it's their people, the ones that they're going to go get brunch with after, or the coaches who really make them feel seen and really celebrate all the big and small wins that they have. It's the salons where clients have been coming for 15 years and they're not just obsessed with the way that their hair looks when they're walking out, but they keep going because they love how good it feels walking in as well. It's the consultants and the coaches who become your biggest fan because you're not just another client on their roster, but you're someone that they believe in and that they've helped you believe in yourself. So in all of these cases, the businesses got the same two things right. It started with a very simple, very easy to understand, accessible entry point about what this is, who this is for, that felt welcoming, where people could see themselves belonging from day one. But then it was also that clear, specific, emotionally charged vision of what they're building towards, where they're taking them, that North Star, and that aspirational, meaningful piece. So for your business, the accessibility question is, Is it clear of what you do, who this is for, and that they're welcome right now? Or does it accidentally, unintentionally signal that you need to be a certain size at a certain stage, a certain kind of business before you can belong? And then for the aspirational question, what's the larger vision behind what you do? Not just the deliverables, but the actual transformation. What becomes possible because of what you're doing? And where are you actually taking your people? Because one without the other, like I see this gap all the time in otherwise really excellent businesses. So I want you to sit with those two things and see what comes up for you. And if you can't think of it on your own, feel free to ask people around you, your clients, your business partner, your team, and help fill in the blind spots that you might not be able to see on your own. And from there, I want you to honestly look at where your content and marketing sits along that accessible to aspirational spectrum. Is it leaning one way versus the other? So, like, is it too aspirational where it's just so many results, transformations, big vision, and just kind of like, oh my gosh, like, well, all of a sudden, let's say you're a business coach, all of a sudden, this person's just flying private all over the world. She doesn't work more than 30 minutes a day. For me, I'd be like, well, that's not me. Like, that's too much. That's too big of a jump. And on the flip side, is it unintentionally kind of too relatable without a compelling enough vision where, yeah, I could totally see myself starting there, but it's not a compelling enough vision of like what I actually want, where I want to go. Because for better or for worse, most businesses unintentionally lean one way or the other, but knowing which way you're leaning will help you figure out how to refine. Because when you get this balance right, you stop competing for attention and you start actually creating this belonging. And belonging, as it turns out, compounds in a way that reach never does. Your followers watch what you do. Your community helps build it with you. So go out and build your community. And now, as always, if this sparks something for you, I'd seriously love to hear about it. So come find me on Instagram or leave a comment here. And if you know someone who's been technically doing a lot of the right work when it comes to their marketing, but it's not actually building the community and the clients that they're looking for, share this episode with them because it might be something that they needed to hear. So I hope it helped, and I'll talk to you guys soon.